Okay, in yesterday's lesson you talked about finding the volume of three different shapes, the cylinder, the cone, and the sphere. And basically you just kind of multiplied all of the variables that were involved, multiplied by either the coefficient, like the fraction, multiplied by pi, multiplied by the radius squared, or h, depending on the shape. Today we're going to kind of do things a little differently. Today we're not necessarily going to be finding volume. Today we're going to be given the volume, and it's our job to find the height of these shapes. Now, the good news is, just like yesterday, we already know the formulas. You have the PSSA formula sheets right nearby that you can use the formulas. You don't have to memorize that. All we're doing is some simple algebra, some simple manipulating, then bada bing, bada boom, we can find our height. Okay, so we're going to go through several examples here so you can see what I'm talking about. So basically, again, it's just going to be some multiplying using the calculator, then a division. Okay, so maybe in the top right corner, just find a little space and write the following steps. So basically, step 1 is to multiply your known numbers. Then step 2, divide the volume by this product. Okay, so there's just basically two steps that you can use a calculator for. It doesn't take that long, and you'll see after you do a couple examples, it's actually not that difficult. But just make sure you have a calculator handy, and make sure you have the formula sheet nearby as well to do some of these problems. So let's go through this, and I'm just going to do probably like 5 or 6 problems here, and then the rest you can do for the quiz or homework tonight. Okay, so take a look at the first one. So we want to find x, which in this case is the height. So I want to find the height of this cone. Now, the volume is 25.12 millimeters cubed. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to write the formula for the cone. I'm going to write it out here. So formula for volume of a cone, again, you have a formula sheet, is 1/3 times pi r squared h. Okay? So now all I'm going to do is fill in these numbers. So the volume we know is 25.12 equals 1/3 times pi, which we're going to use 3.14, times r squared. The radius is actually going to be 2 because you can see here that the diameter is 4, so as we learned yesterday, the radius is going to be 2, so 2 squared times our height, and we don't know what height is. So now all I'm going to do is take my calculator and multiply these known numbers. So if you're not sure how to multiply by a fraction on the calculator, please ask your teacher for some help to do that. I'm going to go ahead and do that right now on my calculator. So 25.12 is my volume, equals, and then all three of those multiplied together is 4.19 times my height. And now I'm trying to find the height, so now all I have to do is divide my volume by this product, 4.19. So take your calculator, do 25.12 divided by 4.19, and you end up getting 6 millimeters equals our height. Okay? So again, multiply all your known numbers, then divide it to the other side to get your height. Okay, let's take a look at a couple more here. Okay, the volume of a cone is 66 cubic inches. If the diameter of the base is 6 inches, what is the height? So again, we're talking about a cone. So my formula for volume of cone is 1/3 pi r squared h. So let's fill in these numbers here. So my volume I get right here is 66 inches, cubic inches. So 66 equals 1/3 times pi, which is 3.14, times my radius. What do they give me? The diameter. Well, in this case they gave me the diameter, so the radius is half that, so it's going to be 3 squared times 3 squared times my height. Okay, so I'm going to multiply these three guys here again. multiply 1/3 times 3.14 times 3 squared in the calculator. So 66 equals, when you multiply all that out, you get 9.42. That giggling in the background was Gabby. She says hi, by the way. Okay, so we have our product, and the last step, just divide 66 by 9.42, and you end up getting 7 equals your height. Okay, so those two are with the cylinder or with the cone. Let's take a look at the cylinder. So cylinder is probably the easier of the two formulas. There's no fraction involved, so let's just go ahead and quickly do this. Again, here you can see I have the formula out here. It's always helpful to write it, makes things easier. So go ahead and do that. So the volume in this case is 100 centimeters cubed. So 100 equals pi, which is 3.14. The radius in this case, they give us the radius, so we're good there. So it's going to be 2 squared times our height. Again, we're looking for height, so h is going to remain. Take your calculator, multiply what we know, so 3.14 times 2 squared, which ends up being 12.56 times height. So again, last step, divide 100 divided by 12.56. When you take a calculator and do the division, it ends up being something close to 8. So it's like 7.999. That's close enough to 8. So 8 centimeters here. Let me give you my label. 8 centimeters is our height. Okay. Moving on, I'm just going to do 2 more on this page here. So again, here we're dealing with a cylinder, so I'm going to use my cylinder formula, which is over here on the right side. So volume. Now the difference here is they have the symbol pi. That's okay, just go ahead, we'll work with that. You'll see what happens to it in a second. So again, my volume is going to be 720 pi equals pi r squared, so 3.14 times my radius, which is 6 squared, times my height. Okay, now the only new thing here is I got to do 720 times pi, and when you do 720 times pi, you get 2260.8. So again, I'm just simplifying the left side of the equation. The right side of the equation, go ahead and multiply with your calculator, and you get 113.04 times my height. Height's still out there. We still need to figure that out. Now just do your division. When you do your division, you end up getting 20 feet equals our height. So again, real quick, this one's a little bit different. Make sure you multiply the 720 in your pi to get 2260.8. Then go ahead and divide your product. Okay. One more on this page. So now we're still dealing with the cylinder. So same formula here. So let's go ahead and do this one. So this time it is 1,215 times pi equals pi, which is 3.14. Our radius, it's nice, they're giving us the radius again, times our height. So now do 1,215 times pi. Okay, and that's 3815.1 equals 254.34 times h. Go ahead and do your division, and when you do your division, you get 15 millimeters equals your height. Okay. Now the last one we're not going to do because I think there's a mistake in that, so skip this last one. Go ahead to the next page. Okay, now on this page I'm just going to do the first two, and then on the next page I'll just do the first two there, and then you guys are on your own to do the rest. So let's just quickly go ahead and do these. So on this page we're only dealing with cylinders. So I'm just using this cylinder formula up top. So volume equals pi r squared h. Okay, so again, I'm just going to write down my volume here. Volume's right here, so 904.32 equals pi, which is 3.14. Radius, which is half the diameter, so you got to be very careful on those. It's so easy to make the mistake to use the diameter. instead of the radius, but I'm going to be careful here, and a radius is 3 squared times h. So when you do that, ouch. So 904.32 multiply 3.4 times 3 squared, you get 28.26 times h. Go ahead and do your division. Divide both sides by 28.26. You end up getting 32 inches is our height. Okay, take a look at the second one here. Again, going to use our formula here. It's nice to give us the radius, so you can just go right to the radius there. So what's my volume? My volume is 706.5 equals 3.14 times my radius squared, so times 5 squared, times my height. So go ahead and multiply your numbers on the right side. 706.5, 3.14 times 5 squared is 78.5 times h. And then the last step, just simply divide that to the other side. When you divide that to the other side, you end up getting 9 inches equals your height. Okay, so I'm going to leave the rest of these for your quiz. And before you go to the quiz, let's just take a look at the last page here. So now we're just dealing with a cone, and the cone's the one with the fraction formula here. The fraction in the formula, 1/3. So it just makes it a little bit more complicated, but it's nothing that you guys can't handle. So again, go ahead and write down the volume. So the volume, I know everyone's going to be checking their phone every time this thing goes off. I apologize for that. So volume is 4069.49 equals 1/3 times pi. I'm just getting that right from the formula. Times my radius squared times height. So again, take your calculator, multiply these three numbers together. 4069.49 equals, when I multiply those three numbers together, I end up getting 84.78 times my h. And then the last step, just divide both sides by 84.78. So 4069.49 divided by 84.78 gives me 48 meters. So the height is 48 meters. Okay, and the last one we're going to do together is number 2. So let's write our volume down. Volume is 5,652 equals, again, our formula is 1/3 times pi, 3.14 times the radius. Now again, here they give us diameter. Don't be fooled. The diameter is 10, so therefore my radius is 5. So 5 squared times h. Multiply these three guys out. So 5,652 equals, when I take a calculator, do 1/3 times 3.14 times 5 squared. You get 26.17. Okay, and by now the broken record is certainly telling you guys to divide both sides by 26.17. And when you divide both sides by 26.17, you end up getting 216 meters is our height. Okay, so basically on the quiz, you're going to have to answer some other general questions plus the remainder of these questions from these couple pages here. So if you have any questions, again, feel free to ask your teacher. Make sure you understand what's happening with the calculator, and make sure, again, you're using radius instead of diameter. There's a very common mistake that the PSSAs like to kind of catch you guys on, so be careful with this. All right, good luck.